Hey there, pirates! Welcome aboard the Anime No Mi channel. Will Akainu and Luffy join forces to rescue Garp from Blackbeard's clutches? Let's speculate based on the current manga, analyzing relationships and recent events. I hope for your support to help our crew win, and to do so, you just need to click the thumbs up button, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. By doing this, you will win an incredible devil fruit, so just comment which fruit you want. Now, let's dive into this crazy idea, which actually makes a lot of sense when you stop it and think about what's been happening in the latest One Piece chapters. Remember chapter 1080, where Garp invades Blackbeard's island to save Kobe? That tough old man, the hero of the Marines, storms in throwing hands, knocking pirates down like dominoes. But then Kuzan appears, the former Admiral Aokiji, now allied with Teach and Pierce's Garp with a sharp ice spear. What a tense moment. Garp is left seriously wounded, yet he still laughs in the face of danger, ordering Kobe and the others to escape while he holds the line. In the end, the manga strongly suggests that Garp was captured, frozen, or something similar, because Blackbeard would never let a big fish like that slip away. Now think about Akainu, the current fleet admiral, Sakazuki. He's a high-ranking Marine who respects Garp's legacy, but who also follows an extremely rigid ideology of absolute justice. Back in chapter 793, during the Marineford War, Akainu killed Ace, Luffy's brother, and tried to kill Luffy as well. That was pure hatred. But Garp, in chapter 571, nearly lost control when he saw Ace die, and Akainu knows about that family bond. Could that affect Akainu now? He's cold as molten stone. But in chapter 1059, when the Yonko system collapses, Akainu shows blind loyalty to the Marines. Garp is an icon of the Marines, captured by a Yonko like Blackbeard. That's a direct insult to the Navy's pride. On Luffy's side, during the Egghead arc, in recent chapters starting around 1100, he's dealing with the Gorosei and Vegapunk, but family means everything to him. Garp is the grandfather who trained him, the man who shaped him, even through constant beatings and scoldings. In chapter 1081, we see the aftermath of the battle on Hachinosu, and if Luffy finds out about this, and he probably would through Sabo or Dragon, especially considering the revolutionary connections shown in chapter 1085, he wouldn't stay still. Luffy has already formed unlikely alliances before, like with Law and Punk Hazard in chapter 659, or with Badge and Whole Cake Island in chapter 863. So why not with Akainu if it's to save his grandpa? Imagine the scene. Akainu, with his boiling magma face, receives the news through a Denden Mushi at Marine headquarters. Garp has been captured? Unacceptable. He's the man who restructured the Marines after Marineford in chapter 700, and he would see this as a chance to eliminate Blackbeard, who has been a growing threat since chapter 925, when he officially became a Yonko. But going alone? The Marines are stretched thin. Kizaru is busy at Egghead in chapter 1090, Fujitora is on his own missions, Akainu would need powerful allies, and who better than Luffy, now a Yonko himself, with the insane Gear 5 revealed in chapter 1044 against Kaido. Luffy, meanwhile, is riding high after Wano, chapters 1050 to 1055, with alliances like the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. But invading Hachinosu again? Blackbeard has Kuzan, Shiryu, Avalo Pizarro Absolute Monsters. In chapter 1080, we saw just how dangerous that island is. Luffy hates Akainu, but for Garp, he would swallow his pride, just like he did with Smoker and Alabasta in chapter 212, where they indirectly cooperated. What stops this theory is pretty simple. First, Akainu's absolute justice. The man is pure magma, boiling with rigid ideology. Remember chapter 397 in the Ohara flashback? He destroys a ship full of innocent civilians just because a dangerous scholar might be on board. To him, justice means eradicating evil at the root. No exceptions. Garp is a Marine legend, of course, the hero who helped take down rocks at God Valley, as shown in recent flashbacks like chapter 1163, where Garp teams up with Roger to stop that monster. But Garp's family? Dragon is a revolutionary. Luffy is a Yonko pirate. In chapter 571, at Marineford, Akainu kills Ace without hesitation, knowing he was Garp's grandson. And when Garp moves to kill him, Akainu doesn't even flinch. Sengoku stops the old man, but the point is clear. Akainu sees pirates as a cancer, and Luffy is now the main tumor, especially after unleashing Gear 5 Nika in chapter 1044. Teaming up with a Yonko would go against everything Sakazuki has stood for since becoming Fleet Admiral in chapter 700. He reshaped the Marines to be ruthless, even moving their base to the New World to hunt pirates more aggressively. Rescuing Garp alone or with Marine forces would make sense for the Navy's pride, but sharing the spotlight with Garp's rebellious grandson? Highly unlikely. Akainu would sooner melt his own fleet than swallow that humiliation. Now, from Luffy's perspective, the trauma of Marineford is an open wound that never healed. In Chapter 576, Ace dies in his arms, pierced by Akainu's magma fist. Luffy screams, cries, breaks completely. It's the lowest point of his life, leading to the 2 years of training after Chapter 590. After that, around Chapter 1054, Luffy becomes a Yonko, but his hatred for Akainu is pure poison. He promised to take down the people who killed Ace, and Akainu is at the top of that list. Imagine the Straw Hat receiving a proposal for a truce. Hey, rubber idiot, let's save your grandpa together. Luffy would explode into Gear 5 rage instantly. Family is sacred to him. Garp trained him with fists of tough love in the flashbacks of Chapter 582, but forgiving his brother's killer? Not even in a dream. Luffy has rejected alliances for far less, often ignoring the Marines entirely on different islands. He would rush to Hachinosu alone or with the Grand Fleet, just like he did to save Sanji and Whole Cake Island in Chapter 863 with Beijing, but throwing punches alongside the lava guy? The manga shows Luffy growing, but not erasing grudges like that. After Wano, Chapters 1050 and beyond, he's more mature and focused on freedom, not forced reconciliation with someone who represents the complete opposite. What could make this work is the idea that family outweighs rivalry. In Chapter 576, Garp cries over Ace and Luffy, showing real vulnerability. Akainu, despite being radical, admired Garp as an indirect mentor back in the Chapter 397 flashback. Maybe a forced encounter, like a reversed Marineford this time, not a full war, but a tense truce. Blackbeard is collecting powerful devil fruits, as shown in Chapter 1081, with Kusan using the Hie no Mi. Rescuing Garp could reveal secrets about rocks or the will of D, things Garp knows, as hinted in Chapter 907 during his conversation with Neptune. Akainu wants order, Luffy wants freedom, but both hate Blackbeard, who killed Whitebeard in Chapter 576 and stole his devil fruit. Think about the comedic potential. Luffy calling Akainu that annoying lava guy, Akainu snarling insolent pirate, while still fighting side by side. Just like in Chapter 698, where Luffy and Law argue nonstop but still act as allies. Oda loves twists like that. In the current manga, with the final arc approaching in Chapters 1100 and beyond, involving Imu and the Elders, a marine pirate alliance against even greater threats makes sense, just like in Impel Down in Chapter 549, when Luffy teamed up with Crocodile. Garp being captured accelerates everything. Akainu, pragmatic to the core, has shown before, like in Chapter 793, that he will use any means necessary in the name of justice. Luffy, impulsive as always, would rush straight into a rescue. And what if Dragon gets involved? A revolutionary Garp's son and Luffy's father. In Chapter 1083, Sabo reveals critical information about Mary G. Wise. Dragon could act as a mediator, but the main focus would still be Akainu and Luffy. There are risks. Betrayal? Akainu could arrest Luffy afterward, but Oda wouldn't handle something like that in a cheap or shallow way. This scenario opens the door to truly epic arcs. Continuing to wander through this electrifying possibility, let's imagine how this alliance could unfold without forcing anything beyond what the manga has already shown. Oda is a master at building tension through flashbacks and deep motivations, as we saw in Chapter 1095 with Kuma's flashback, which ties so many threads together. For Akainu and Luffy, the shared point is Garp, but also their mutual hatred for pirates like Blackbeard, who keeps throwing the world out of balance. Think back to Chapter 1059, when Blackbeard attacks the Heart Pirates, showing his insatiable ambition. If he's holding Garp, it's likely to extract information about treasures or the world government itself, since Garp knows about Roger, as hinted back in Chapter 431. Akainu would never allow that to happen because it threatens the stability he fiercely defends. Luffy, in Chapter 1104, is right in the middle of chaos on Egghead, but news travels fast in the world of One Piece, especially through Morgan's newspapers, as shown in Chapter 956. Once Luffy finds out, he would take off immediately, ignoring every possible danger. Any alliance would be reluctant. It wouldn't be like Luffy and Mihawk at Marineford, since Mihawk was a straight-up enemy. A better comparison is Luffy and Smoker in Punk Hazard, Chapter 662, where Smoker hates pirates, but still cooperates to take down Virgo. At its core, the current manga now deeply tied to Elbaf and massive flashbacks, with Chapters 1160 and beyond, revisiting God Valley, is paving the road to the endgame. Luffy versus Teach is inevitable, and Garp could be the catalyst that pushes the Straw Hat to invade Hachinosu on his own. Akainu, meanwhile, may be saved for a final confrontation with the revolutionaries or with Sabo, who wields a similar kind of fire. This objection makes complete sense. The hatred involved crosses lines that even family can't easily erase. But what if Oda subverts expectations? A forced truce imposed by Imu or by an even greater threat? Even so, based on everything we have up to the latest chapters, Akainu's sense of justice and Luffy's trauma are walls that are simply too high. So what do you think? Does that barrier finally break? Or does the rescue become a solo mission led by Luffy, with the Straw Hat Grand Fleet tearing Hachinosu apart? Leave your thoughts in the comments because this topic is boiling hotter than magma. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.